My name is Dustin, and I've been coming out to Bridgeway since around 2016, on and off. And many of you know me on some level, whether I'm the softball dude or probably just as Melanie's boyfriend. I wasn't brought up in a Christian household, and I don't even think I could ever tell you the general time period where I started to have a stirring in my heart that God existed. All I can say for certain was that when I was younger, I had concluded that there must be some sort of higher power. And when I look back on my childhood, and even to this day, there are two concepts that are deeply woven into a Christ-centered life that I struggled with immensely. The first is community. I always bounced around from one friend group to another, and retaining and nurturing friendships was something that was really difficult for me to do. And I also have a problem opening up to people, and didn't really understand the concept of accountability and how it applied to relationships and community. And needless to say, it was definitely a me problem. And so although I strongly desired for a strong community, I thought that maybe I wasn't a good fit for community, and I believed that I had to push ahead on my own, more or less. Something that this did afford me, though, was lots of time for introspection. I had gotten to know myself very well, and I kind of prided myself on mental acuity and open-minded self-awareness. However, this introspection wasn't all that great. I realized that it made me my own greatest limiter. I was really uncomfortable with any notion of change and was extremely risk avoidant. I hated to try new things because I was always afraid of the unknown, and I needed to be in control however way I could. And I was a relentless overthinker. Before I would even attempt something, I would think things like, the Dustin I know wouldn't be able to do this, and that style or job or reaction wouldn't suit me at all, even though I never tried those things before. And all because I thought that I knew myself best and thought that this was the best way to protect and fend for myself. For me, there's no one defining conversion moment, but I think that if I had to pinpoint the beginning of when I really wanted to pursue God, it was probably the start of this year. At the start of this year, I'd done some self-reflection on the things I wanted to accomplish, and there was this one quote that just kind of lingered in my mind. Nothing changes if nothing changes. And it was just some one-off inspirational saying that I heard before in some YouTube video. But the more I reflect on it, the more I think that it was God revealing in my heart a yearning for change and a need for change, even though I've already established that change isn't something that I would normally like. And as much as I didn't want to admit it, it applied too well to the areas of my life where I needed help most. But the area of my life that is most relevant to my testimony was my faith. My faith was not going to change if nothing changed. And if I continued just doing what I was doing, I would continue to drown from my demons, my insecurities, and self-reliance. And God knew this and had provided me with a lifeboat. He saved me from myself. Fast forward a couple of weeks later, and my friend had actually asked me to help him MC at Vision X for this year. He must have been extremely desperate to ask me, of all people. If you couldn't already tell, my personality doesn't scream MC material. And so my initial reaction was no. But out of politeness, I told him that I would pray on it for a couple of days anyway. And just like that little one-off quote that God had used as a catalyst for change, it kind of just lingered in my mind. And my best guess was that God was signaling to me that this was an opportunity to follow through on changing. And so I accepted it. I had no clue what the role had entailed at the time, so I just kind of told myself that I would just let go and let God. The night before Vision X, I was messaging a confidant about how I had accepted the MC role for Vision X. And after a lot of back and forths about it, he could tell that it was weighing heavily on my mind and had some words of advice to give me. But the very last thing he said to me hit me hard. He said, "This is your leap of faith, it seems." And it's kind of embarrassing to reveal now, but I actually broke down in tears after I read that. And to understand why, the other concept that I struggled with was faith. Hebrews 11:1 says, "Now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen." And so taking leaps of faith were not in my repertoire. It was too scary. And the unease of not really being in control was anxiety-inducing, because faith leaves me vulnerable. With faith, you have to surrender and let God work, all of which seemed impossible to me before. I broke down because I was overcome with emotion. It felt like I had finally realized and was beginning to understand what faith was, and also felt so stupid because I felt like I was all alone when God was already working in my life, and I couldn't even realize it. I thought God would never use someone like me because of, well, a whole list of reasons, but here he was using me to be an MC at Vision X, and I definitely couldn't have accomplished it without him. Vision X was special for me because it was the first time that I leaned on God. I surrendered my pride, self-doubts, insecurities, constant need to feel in control, and what he gave me in return was courage to push through discomfort and unfamiliar experiences, and also peace to stop thinking that I had to be better or perform better. He accepted me as I am, and he used me as I am. My greatest sin that stopped me from pursuing God earlier was my unyielding, self-centered pride, an inability and refusal to surrender, and the persistence to be self-sufficient. It uprooted my faith's ability to grow and be nourished, and I realized that when I tried to take the reins and control my life without faith and without surrendering anything, I was indicating to God that I was God of my own life, that I didn't need him. But I do. I was shackled and burdened by my own self-reliance, and by surrendering these things to him, he revealed to me that that is what faith is. He broke those chains and became my lifeboat, steering me in the right direction. I would like to share Proverbs 3:5-6, which kind of encapsulates my whole testimony simply. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, submit to him, and he will make your paths straight. When I began the process of surrendering to God, I started to heal and let go of my self-created identity. I'm practicing transforming my self-reliance to a reliance on God's grace through faith. And lastly, I'd just like to take the time to thank all of you guys. Though I might not have known at the time, throughout my years at Bridgeway, there are many of you that have connected with me in some way. And in a lot of ways, I think that God had been showing me in the small interactions between us what community could look like for me if I remain accountable to nourishing relationships within Bridgeway. I definitely would not be up here without all of you, so thank you for being part of my faith journey.